U.S. Forest Service here in the Dillon Ranger District as an interpretation and education ranger. Today I'll be showing some of our local mammals that live here in Colorado, some of their pelts or antlers, and talking about wildlife. I have some examples of some of the wild animals that live here in Summit County. Maybe some of you are familiar with some of these animals. But yeah, the big difference with these animals is they are not used to being around humans. So for these animals, like, you don't want to go up and pet it. I saw a lot of us petting, Officer Megan's dog earlier, but like if I saw a wild coyote, it looks like a dog, is it okay to like go up and pet it? No. So usually, even if it came up to me, you don't want to pet it, because like with domestic animals, they're used to being around humans. They usually rely on humans, like to feed them and things like that. Where wildlife, we want to keep them on their own. So we don't want to approach them. We don't want them to get used to humans, because sometimes, since they're not used to being around us, they could accidentally bite, scratch, or harm you in some way. Okay.
What if they're like hurt?
We have rehab centers, so that means where we'll take the animal and if it has like a broken wing or it's hurt another way, we'll take care of it and heal it up and then put it back in the wild if it's healthy enough. So all of the animals that I have today are mammals. Could anyone tell me what they think, like the science word mammal, what does that mean? It drinks its mother's milk, it has fur, and it's a live birth. When a mammal is born, it's going to be born alive. It's not going to be in an egg. Warm-blooded, yep, that's the last qualifier. So all of us humans, are we mammals?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're mammals too. All of these are going to be mammals that we can find here in Summit County. A lot of our pelts that we have today are unfortunately from when one of these animals has been hit by a car. But then I like to think it has a second life to teach people about itself, because again, we wouldn't be able to touch these animals in the wild. Our first animal, so this one is pretty large. To identify it, couple things. One thing, it has this long nose, and then it has a shorter but fluffy tail. Might be part of the dog family. Does anyone have a guess, raising your hand? What do we think this animal could be? Yes.
Coyote.
A coyote, yes, exactly. For right now, this is our largest canine species in Colorado. Sometimes do have gray wolves coming in from Wyoming, and they very soon, in a couple of years, we may be reintroducing gray wolves. But for right now, coyotes are our largest dog species that lives here. So I'll go around, and if you want, you can touch, see what its fur is like.
Why is it so skinny?
They're relatively skinny, but also this is just its fur, so there's no body parts in there anymore. So it looks a little smaller than it would in real life. I don't have any bones, just the fur. But yeah, so somebody was asking why it looks so small. Again, it's just the fur. But coyotes, they can range between 35 and 40 pounds. So they can get pretty big. For the most part, yeah, they're kind of long and tall and a little skinny. There's our coyote. Here's our coyote in real life. Kind of looks like a wolf. Yeah, they're like cousins. Yeah, we used to have wolves in Colorado, just like we used to have grizzly bears. Both of them were hunted out of this area. Wolves will be reintroduced to the state in the next couple of years, but as of right now, as of today, we do not have a population of wolves living in Colorado. Our next animal, here, we can shout this one out all together. What is this one? Fox.
Red-tailed fox.
Yeah, this is a red fox. We also in Colorado have gray foxes. They look a little different, but most common are a red fox. They're much smaller than the coyote, but yeah, I heard someone observe it has a very long tail. So look, its tail is longer than the coyote, and then compared to its body, the tail is almost the whole body length, right? So foxes are really interesting because they act like a dog sometimes, but they also sort of act like a cat. And having a long tail is something that's more similar to cats. Because when foxes hunt, they use their tails. They use their tails for balance and to help find what they're looking for. Here we go. So, like in the winter time, how many of you have seen like a goofy video of a fox diving into the snow in winter? Yeah, it's really silly if you look it up. But so foxes in the winter time, they'll use their sense of hearing to listen for animals like mice or rabbits under the snow, and then they'll dive down to grab something, and they have to use their tail to help them pinpoint and aim when they're jumping down into the snow. Also in the winter, their tails come in handy because they sleep right on top of the snow, and even in the summer they'll sleep right on top of the ground, but they'll use that tail and wrap it around their whole body like that to help keep it warm. Yeah, I'll come around so we can touch again. Would you be able to keep a fox as a pet? Like if you found one that's injured and you took care of it? So in Colorado, and correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot have a fox as a pet. In most of the United States, you can't. And honestly, I would not want to have a fox as a pet because they are very active at nighttime. So when I'm trying to sleep, they're going to be running around my house. And also, if you've ever heard a fox in the middle of the night, because I had some foxes living by my house, they scream. It sounds like people are like hurting them. And if they're in your house, they're like screaming, barking. They also have like almost no evidence of being house trained. So I've seen in other parts of the world where people can have foxes as pets, they have to wear a diaper in the house because they cannot be house trained. So that doesn't sound like a very fun pet to me. Even though they are cute and soft, it wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, so the next animal, I only have a small part of it, not the whole animal like these. But this one lives at high elevations. You usually only can find it above tree line, so above 11 or 12,000 feet. What do you think?
It's a mountain.
Mountain goat, exactly. So how many have seen, give me a thumbs up if you've seen a mountain goat in real life. Just a quiet thumbs up. All right, almost everybody. So yeah, sometimes if you're driving around Summit County with your family, like Blue Lakes Trail south of Breckenridge, that's a popular spot to see them. Or if ever you get like McCullough Gulch or Quandary, it's got really, really thick fur. Because even in the summertime, those high elevations are still very cold, so they're going to want to have that thicker fur to help keep warm. If you notice, as we go around, there's like a straighter hair and then like a curlier hair. It's because it's kind of from its shoulder where its hair changes texture. In this picture, you can kind of see this is like the skin tone. It's losing its thicker winter fur, and now it's summer fur. So see where that really curly thick patch, that's still its winter fur, but then you can see where it's losing it. So sometimes on trails, when you're hiking around the spring, you might find big clumps of mountain goat fur just laying off the trail.
And you can collect it and keep it.
I think you can collect it, but if you like are collecting it to sell it, you can't do that. Our next one. So, who thinks, may have a guess, what animal this could have came from?
I just know.
All right, what do you think? Yeah.
Black bear.
Black bear, you got it. All right, so here's our black bear. So in Colorado, we only find black bears now. We used to have grizzly bears that lived here a long time ago, but they were hunted out of this area. So these days we just have black bears. Bears often, they're still pretty scared of humans. If you do see one on a trail, usually you want to clap your hands, you want to like yell and shout, like, hey bear, like I'm here. And most of the time they will run away because they are, even though they're big and can be kind of scary, they in general are kind of afraid of humans. Right, so if you want to touch the bear, very thick fur. Yeah, it does look like, if you look close, it's got like two different colors in there. Not as soft as a fox. Yeah, good observation. So here's our picture of our black bear. So just like almost all these animals that we're showing. So here's it with its cub, right? And bears especially, you do not want to get in between the mom and the baby cub, because that's when you're going to get in trouble.
Or die. Or die. That's what
If
she
you're
means
lucky
by
enough
in
to see a
trouble.
black bear from a distance, they are very cool animals.
Oh. Wait.
And then another one, very similar color, almost very similar size, a little smaller. Okay, if you think you know one or both of these animals, let me see a quiet hand.
Quiet, I like that.
What do you think?
Bobcat.
Which one do you think was the bobcat?
That one.
This one, the smaller one? You got it. All right, does anyone think they know what this one is that's so similar to a bobcat? What do you think? The lynx, right. So this is a Canada lynx. So again, both these animals look extremely similar. Some things to notice is a bobcat, as its guy's name, so this is my bobcat. Its tail is not on here, but it has a very short tail. That's why it bobbed kind of refers to being cut. So it has a very short tail, and it's a little smaller. It has smaller paws. Where our lynx is gonna be a bigger animal. It's got a black tip tail. See, it still has a pretty short tail. Yes, but its paws are really big, which the sample does not have its paws. But its paws are gonna be probably just as big as my hand. So huge paws. Why do we think a lynx would have a really big paw like that? What do you think? Yeah, to be able to walk on top of the snow. So their toes can spread out like that, and they also have fur in between their toes so that they can walk. Because most of the time, at least for me, I've only seen a lynx in the winter time, but there are still out there in the summer too. So also with our lynx, so again, they're a bigger animal, bigger paws, but then they have these things, we call them ruffs, which are going to be these like fluffier parts of their fur down here. It's kind of like, imagine if they had a very long mustache, and it's like this extra hair hanging down right there. So those are the ruffs. And then if you notice its ears right here, it's got these like little black antenna looking things. Those are called tufts. So we have ruffs and tufts. So the bobcat will also have little tiny tufts on its ear, just very short, where the lynx is going to be a little longer. So I'm going to pass both of these around together. So again, very, very similar cat species. Our lynx is larger than our bobcat. And again, looking for those ruffs and tufts is how you can tell the difference. Also in Colorado, our lynx is considered an endangered species. So just in Colorado, not throughout the United States. But so we do have special protections in place for where the lynx live. And then our biologists, they have cameras to check out to make sure the lynx are doing okay, seeing where they're moving throughout the county, so that we can better protect them. So again, the bobcat is going to be the one closer to my body. The lynx is going to be closer to you guys. So the last two, I don't have their furs, but I have a different part of their body. I have two antlers from two different animals. Does anyone know the difference between an antler and a horn?
The horns are connected and the antlers fall off.
There you go. Yeah, so antlers are a part that they regrow every year and then fall off, usually in the winter. So horns are going to stay on an animal. Like a mountain goat has horns, or a bighorn sheep has those horns that curl around its head. Those grow throughout their whole life, right? So, but then these two animals, every year they're regrowing this, and as they get a little older, it might get a little bigger till it reaches full size, but it's gonna fall off and start the regrowth process every year all over again. Who thinks they know what this animal with this antler came from? What do you think?
Deer.
Deer? Do you know what kind of deer? Yeah, mule deer. So we mostly have mule deer in this part of Colorado, but you can find white-tailed deer as well. So a big difference when you're looking at the antler, a mule deer, so it's gonna have the antler's gonna begin and then it's gonna fork. It's gonna branch and then it'll fork again. But white-tailed deer will have like one branch and then it'll have prongs coming off of it. So that's usually how you can tell the difference. But mule deer and white-tailed deer do look very, very similar at the end. But here's our mule deer. You know, we have a buck with the antlers and a doe without antlers. So females for mule deer do not grow antlers. This last one, again, I'm looking for quiet hand if they think they know what animal this came from. A moose, yeah. So moose, give me a quiet thumbs up if you've seen a moose before. Oh wow, almost everybody. That's so awesome. Moose are my favorite animal, and this it's just one antler, right? Imagine there's a second one. This is about like 10 pounds. So can you imagine carrying like 20 pounds of weight on your head just for this antler? Okay? And this one is not even a full-grown moose. This moose was probably 3 or 4 years old when it died. So moose reach maturity when they're around 5 or 6 years old. So you can imagine this would get a little bit taller and a little bit wider when it was fully mature. And then you can see also there's this fuzzy part. There's a little hair on it. Do you know what this is called?
Yeah, it's velvet. It grows in the winter to help the blood go through the antlers.
Very good. Yeah, so the velvet covers up their blood vessels. It protects their blood vessel to help the antler grow. So right now, if we saw a moose or even a mule deer today, it would have that velvet all over its antler. And then, so that helps it grow. But then in the fall, when the antler's the size it needs to be for that year, that's when the velvet will start falling off. And animals like moose and deer will start rubbing it on trees and things like that to get that velvet off, because it kind of is like a scab. Have you ever had a scab and as it's healing, it's kind of itchy? And so that's same with the moose. It itches as that velvet starts to fall off. So then they want to rub it off, and it also polishes their antlers. So this is a female moose with two babies. So sometimes, usually a moose will just give birth to one, but every once in a while they will have two, and then they'll be twins if they do give birth to two babies. And the baby moose will stay with their mom for about a year, and then after that they go off on their own. You guys want to touch? Yeah, you can see the lines where the veins used to be.
Oh wow, that's a vein. That's a vein.
Yeah. All the samples I had today to show you guys. So, but remember, all these wild animals, if we do see them out and about, if we're hiking around Summit County or elsewhere, first we want to definitely give them their distance, because it can stress animals out, or it can anger them if humans get too close. Do you want to feed wild animals?
No,
even if it's like it seems like it's sick or something, do we want to feed it? No, because then it can make it worse. If animals rely on humans to feed them, that often means they won't go hunting on their own, and that could mean like in the winter when there's not as much food available, they could go hungry and possibly get sick, maybe starve. But so it's awesome to observe wildlife and learn about wildlife from a distance. Take pictures. Again, remembering to be respectful and give them their own distance or their space. All right, well, I want to thank you guys again for spending time with me, and I'll turn it back over to your leaders.
Can you guys say thank you?
Thank you.
You guys, oh man, all right, cut.